at least here at WSGW, a rather rainy morning at the moment. Nice to have you with us. Later on after the 10 o'clock news, we're going to learn about a celebration in West Branch for their 150th anniversary. And then at 11 o'clock, we'll learn about Winnegar Fire Protection. We'll have open phones as time permits, including this hour. But we start this hour finding out what's happening in the city of Saginaw. And back for another regular visit, we welcome the city manager. We say good morning to Tim Morales. Tim, good morning.
Good morning, Art. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Yesterday afternoon, there was a dedication of the new sculpture down at Potoff Park along the river. And I'm curious, are we, headed to a point where we're going to try and develop that whole waterfront?
Yeah, that's our long-term vision for it, and I think, we have a lot of great organizations like Art and About, which was responsible for the art installation, and several other ones. But I think we would like to see an active trail from Wicks Park all the way through downtown Saginaw. So we've had grants and invested money on the south side of the Y on that new trail, and we're investing money. Of course, we have invested quite a bit in Celebration Park, and now we're working on Ojibway Island. The Lions Club is working on Crayola Park, and we have Art and About placing installations throughout, and then the Medical Diamond, or Riverfront Park that we've been talking about, will be just past that Art and About site. So yeah, we envision that in the long term.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Medical Diamond, because in order for that to happen, not only do they have to find the funds, obviously, but it takes a lot of infrastructure. Are we already working toward that?
Yeah, there is a lot of upfront work that goes into a project like that, particularly, as we've talked about. Our end is developing the infrastructure and doing those projects, and then developing and building the park. And the other investment is with other organizations. So we're there to make the site shovel ready from an infrastructure perspective, and we've been working on that for probably a year and a half or more. The engineering plans and then the park development plans, those are nearly done now. So we expect to be able to put a bid out for that work sometime late summer, early fall, with hopefully a start date in the spring on that work.
How is that all funded? Does that come through general fund?
So the infrastructure in the park is being funded primarily through grants from the state of Michigan and the federal government. If you recall, the state of Michigan granted about $30.3 million for the infrastructure, and then the federal government through Congressman Kildee an appropriation for part of the infrastructure there for $3.3 million, and just recently we received another RAP grant for that site. So most of that is grant funding. We have a very ambitious park development plan. I don't know if you had a chance to meet Scape, who is our park design company, landscape design company. They have designed quite a park, so we're still seeking additional funding. We have some more requests out there and grants applied to get to be able to develop the full park. And either way, we're going to have a great park there. Even if we can't implement everything they designed, we'll still have a nice new developed park on the riverfront.
Yeah, there was one portion of it where they have docks protruding out into the navigable waterway, and there's a question as to whether they can build them that way or not.
That's a good point. Yep, that's all regulated by, there's a lot of regulation on the riverfront from Eagle, from the state of Michigan, from the Army Corps of Engineers. So all of that stuff has to be approved too. So that's a good point, Art.
Driving around the city, aside from the MDOT work on State Street, which is a major project, there seems to be a lot of individual street closures. Are we doing a lot on the city streets this year?
Yeah, we are. And, we've been doing probably more and more work each summer as we change the way that we do those projects. But we have a lot of interesting projects this year and a lot of necessary projects. So you'll see in Old Town, it is very difficult to park in Old Town this summer and get through there because we have the bridge closed, and then Rusk is closed by the water plant. Those are necessary infrastructure for bridge maintenance, and then the Rust is closed by the water plant for our piping project for our new water tower. But we also have that rehab project on the parking ramp in Old Town, the CSO, and then we have some kind of cool projects. It's many of those side streets there near Hamilton are closed, and one is kind of a historic reconstruction with a brick street, so that's going to be kind of a cool addition to Old Town.
And where's the money coming from for all that?
That is through grants and also gas and weight tax, and then part of it is through ARPA.
So it's covered.
So, yep. All of those projects are covered, and they should be done this summer. Hopefully, people can forgive the barrels when they see the final work done. And
yeah. Although I have to admit, I'm surprised with State Street closed from Avalon all the way to Bay. I'm quite surprised how well the one-ways on Davenport have worked, turning it into a two-way street. I've had no delays whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems to be a pretty good traffic flow, and occasionally there'll be some slight backups, I think, but it seems to be working well. And that's all a state of Michigan project, so they've been doing most of that work, and we cooperate with them as needed, but it's good to see. We all know that there's a minor inconvenience there, but the State Street's going to be much better once that's done.
Let me turn to a different topic, and that's housing. Have we seen any demand from developers to build new housing in Saginaw?
I think, when we look at the housing development that's going to be upcoming, there will be new housing, much of it multifamily, which some of our need studies did show that we did a few years ago. We have a need for additional multifamily rental housing. Mm-hmm. That's I think what you're going to see coming up on the horizon with some of the new projects that you see going up, and I think new construction and also rehab. At our last council meeting, the city staff and administration brought a development agreement for the Behringer building to city council, and council approved that. So that's great to see that potential redevelopment of that building downtown.
Is there a time frame on that?
They have a due diligence period. I think it's 3 years. Obviously, it's a pretty big project, and they're looking at some different aspects for financing, historic tax credits, and things like that. But that's, I think, the firm that we have the agreement with is a really good development firm. They have a history of developing buildings all across the country and have rehabbed similar buildings. So it's all positive.
All right. Hang on, Tim. I got to take a break, and then we'll be back. We're talking to Tim Morales, City Manager of the City of Saginaw. Let me chat with you for a moment about McDonald Ford in Freeland, where they anticipated the fact that tariffs were going to have an impact on the auto industry. So they stocked their lot with tariff-free vehicles and have many more coming. But not only are they tariff-free, at the same time, Ford is offering employee pricing for everyone. That means you pay the same price as Ford employees. In addition, let's say you're a Chrysler import buyer. Maybe you're considering a Ford. Now would be the best time because you are going to get the lowest price offered. Chevy truck buyers, you can now think about a Ford F-150, the best-selling pickup in America, also at employee pricing. So you see, now's the right time to visit McDonald Ford, M47 in Freeland, for the best selection and the lowest possible price. Now, don't let tariffs prevent you from getting the vehicle of your choice at a price you can afford. Visit McDonald Ford in Freeland today. Remember, tariff-free and employee pricing for everyone, and Ford has extended that employee pricing through July 6th.
Are you living with dry
Hey, we're back with you here on the Art Lewis Show. A few more minutes with Saginaw City Manager Tim Morales this morning. Tim, we mentioned building rehabs, and one of the buildings that's going through some rehab is your very own City Hall. How are we doing with the rehab of City Hall?
It's moving along. So we knew it was going to be a long project. It's maybe a month and a half to 2 months. A little bit behind schedule, but there's a lot in that building that the workers didn't know about till they opened it up, so that can cause delays.
Yeah.
But 1936, and looks great on what they have done. They're going floor by floor just so that we didn't have to move all the services out of City Hall, but it should be the first floor should be done about October of this year, and then they'll move on to the last phase, which is the second floor. Outside is looking great.
And how about HVAC system?
That is, I think most of it's installed, the main components. So, but then on each floor, they have to do the ductwork because there is no ductwork in that building, and there's still going to be boilers, so they're running lines for that, and a lot of that's the work that can take a long time. And additionally, because of the age of that building and what was in there before to actually do the HVAC, there were some major electrical upgrades that needed to be done. So, and these things pop up when you have an old building. We found out we have to do another upgrade to some consumers equipment outside, so that's going to add a little bit of time and cost, but when you're looking at a building that's almost 100 years old, sometimes things like that come up.
Consumers equipment, do you have to pay for that, or is that consumers' responsibility?
That one's going to be on us. It depends on where it is in the system. That's a component that just serves our building. So that needs to be upgraded too because of, I think, the new electrical needs and the load there. Yeah. So that one's going to be on us. And
when they get done with the second floor, are the chambers going to look the same? Council chambers?
For the most part, yep. It's going to be the same. We don't anticipate a lot of changes. In there, the ceiling's going to be a little bit lower just because there was no room for ductwork in there. But we're taking some care to make sure we preserve that woodwork and we're doing something a little bit special. If you remember, there's Saginaw engraving in the woodwork at the top, so we're going to be doing something with that too.
So it's the history is going to remain then, in other words.
Yep.
Basically.
Yeah, we're trying our best to maintain the historical integrity of the building while also doing the upgrades that we need to have airflow and heating and cooling in there and electrical upgrades and really make it a good place for our employees to work.
Yeah. I want to talk about something else. We had chatted about it before because the city has fallen under that 50,000 population, which could affect your federal funding. Fortunately, right now it hasn't. Have we seen a turnaround at all? Do you sense that we're going to be getting people back into the city?
I think we'll have an increase, but a lot of it is dependent on the projects moving forward, and I think we're going to see those projects moving forward. But when we're adding the multi-unit housing, whether it's rental or condos or anything, that's going to help with the population. If we see additional development downtown in an old town where people are going to live and work, that can help increase the population. And I think that builds upon future projects too. And I do think you will see, primarily this initial focus or initial push is with multi-unit housing and most of it rental. But I think that can lead to additional building of homes in the city too, where we've got some projects right now where Covenant Healthcare is building homes, and I think there will be a need for that in our region. And Saginaw is uniquely situated where we have available lots and we have infrastructure that's necessary to provide water, wastewater, and electrical services to those homes.
Yeah, because I mean, realistically, this region, the Great Lakes Bay region, I mean, could position itself to lead the state in growth. With you've got Corning coming in looking for 1,500 positions. Hemlock Semiconductor, several hundred. SK Siltron in Bay City, a couple of hundred, plus others. And they're all going to have to be housed someplace. They have to live someplace. First, we have to find them, and then they have to be housed someplace. And certainly all the communities throughout the region are going to benefit from it, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, definitely. And then you have that technological manufacturing that you talked about. And we can't forget, we talk about the medical diamond, but even right now, Saginaw is the major medical hub north of Flint for northern Michigan. And I think that's going to continue to grow. We've got additional investment by My Michigan Health, a former St. Mary's, and Covenant continues to thrive there. And then medical education is very important in the city. So I think you'll see that medical hub to continue to grow as well.
We talk about the medical diamond. As you understand it, what's the time frame?
So, one of the primary projects there, and we initially started talking about, is consumers burying those lines. And we really want them to kick off that project. And we've been working with them this whole time over the past few years, too. And we're hoping that they will start that line burial this year. That's a really key component for the project. And then you'll see us, the city, bid out our work for the infrastructure and park construction likely this fall, with hopefully a start date either, I think Phil Carwat, our public services director, told me late this fall or spring start date on that. And then I think you'll start to see some of the other work by private developers and other groups next year as well.
Do we know how the fundraising is going for the school itself?
I haven't had an update for that, so I think it's probably a question for CMU and the other people planning that project.
Yeah, it's not a cheap one either. It's a couple $100 million, if I understand it right.
Yeah. That's
a big project, but it's one of those transformational projects, isn't it?
It sure is. That's that a project like that can significantly impact downtown, which would spur additional development of restaurants, more housing, and other services downtown that are necessary. When you have people coming into work like that, that's the need there. And I think that's some of where you've seen some of those businesses close in the downtown area. A lot of that, I think, was due to reduced workforce downtown. And I know you remember back when a number of businesses had hundreds and hundreds of workers downtown. Sure. You did have more restaurants and pubs and things like that, and that's what comes when you have the people there.
So last question this morning, the time frame. We mentioned these earlier, but what's the time frame on the Court Street Bridge reopening and then that ramp parking being done?
The bridge, I think we're looking at reopening in the next few weeks, if not sooner then. It all depends on if they can get those final phases done. And then the parking ramp in Old Town, we're looking at a fall open date because that's a pretty significant project. Now, we'll get the Court Street Bridge open, but the project in front of the plant won't be done when the bridge opens, so Rust will still be closed there at the plant, but getting that bridge open will be pretty key because then you can get to the Anderson Center and the Y and Garber Courts and Celebration Park much easier.
And what are they doing in front of the water plant?
That's a piping project, which is really tied to the water tower development. So that's going to tie that in, but a lot of it was necessary anyway, so it's good to get that project done.
And when will the water tower go up and be done?
We're looking at towards fall or late in the year, but we do want to have I think our water department's been talking about a tank raising event, so we'll make sure if we do that we inform everybody.
Good idea. All right. Well, listen, Tim, thanks for spending time with us this morning, as always. And onward, Saginaw.
Indeed. Good to talk to you, Art.
Good to talk to you, Tim. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye now.
Yep. Bye.
Tim Morales, City Manager, City of Saginaw. We'll have open phones for the remainder of the hour, 989-752-6111. Whatever you'd like to chat about, let's get the conversation going.
The fun continues in downtown.
I guess the question on the table I'd like to know is, should the U.S. be involved with the war in Israel and Iraq or not?
Not Iraq, you mean Iran.
Iran, yeah.
That's a great question. We are, of course, Israel's biggest ally. I don't have a problem with us providing them with defensive weapons and all of those things. I'm not sure I want to see us directly attack Iran. If Israel can do it, let Israel do it. If we supply them behind the scenes defensive weapons and things of that nature, so be it. But I'm not really a big fan of just, us taking the lead and striking. I don't think that's a good idea, but that's me. All right.
Well, there's a lot of questions out there on the table whether Trump is going to actually do that, because people think he's leading toward that. So I wondered.
Time will tell.
Yep.
Time will tell.
Okay.
All righty.
Yep.
Take care.
Right.
Bye-bye
Thank
now.
you.
And we say hello to Paul in Saginaw. Good morning, Paul.
Morning, Art. Art, I was listening to your interview earlier with the city manager, and my question is has there been any discussion about changing the zoning over on the east side of Saginaw? Currently and in the past, the city's zoning has been primarily for single-family dwelling and for retail business. But is there any possibility of changing the zoning, like commercial wholesale, manufacturing?
I would not expect, here's my answer, I would not expect those kinds of zoning changes in residential areas. I would expect zoning changes that allowed for multifamily dwellings, apartment complexes and the like. But I don't think I would expect them to stick a commercial zone right in the middle of a residential zone.
I wouldn't expect that either. But I'll give you an example on the fringes of the city limits, primarily in Buena Vista there on M81. There's a lot of commercial businesses in that area.
Yeah, but that's Buena Vista.
And right. And I'm just wondering if there isn't any way to cross over into the city limits on that side and bring some commercial.
There may be, but again, it's going to depend on the current zoning and what's anticipated in terms of growth. I would hate to see, I would like to see the rebirth of a lot of neighborhoods. Even if that means apartment complexes within the neighborhoods with a mixture of single housing and the duplexes and things of that nature. We're going to need it. We are going to need that kind of housing, not only here, but other cities around here. But I would not expect to see commercial development dropped in the middle of it. Retail, possibly. You might get a little retail here and there, but I wouldn't want to see commercial warehouse and that kind of stuff.
Well, historically, back in the old days, and I'm talking like 30s, 40s, and 50s, the reason why a lot of people settled in the residential areas that they settled was because it had a lot to do with these ethnic churches. And when the ethnic church was put into that neighborhood, then the population surrounded the church and then the ethnic school as well. You don't have that today. The ethnic church and the ethnic school is gone.
Well,
so that's why the population deserted the area.
I got a question, though. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the church all of a sudden grow up with nothing around it, and then people moved in? Or did the ethnic community move in and needed a church?
Well, that last part you said there has, I think it was kind of both, but it was mostly the latter. And you don't have that today on the east side.
Well, we don't have a
you
lot
do have
today
it on
we
the
used
west
to have.
side.
We don't have a lot today that we used to have 30, 40 years ago. It's
Right.
changed a
Well,
lot.
Here's what destroyed the east side, in my opinion. In the late 50s, urban renewal was mandated to come in over on the east side, over by the city limits of Buena Vista and the city, and work their way over west and, build new housing. And that was, sounds like a great idea, but it destroyed a lot of ethnic church neighborhoods and schools. So the people who were there originally deserted the area, moved to the west side, and there was no ethnic church or ethnic, school or church to replace them.
Yeah.
So,
it's a new day, so we have to live with the new wants and dislikes and all that.
yeah.
Time's different.
But
All right.
you got any other ideas to build up the east side?
Well, I want to build a city, not just the east side. You build one, you get them all.
Right.
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 I don't want to, here's the problem. When we start thinking east side, west side, you automatically build a divide. Let's start thinking city.
Right.
So, all right. Got to run. Got to take a break.
All right. Later.
All right, Paul, take care. Bye-bye now, and we will be back.
It's natural to have questions.
And we're back with you here on the Art Lewis Show. Lines open at 989-752-6111. Speaking of the Tigers, they have here in Michigan, in West Michigan, in their High A West Michigan team, a Tiger prospect by the name of Kevin McGonigal. And everybody says this guy is different. Not only is it his drive, his competitiveness, it's how he was raised, how he approaches the game. And they gave an example the other day that he was playing on a gimpy ankle with pain. He hit a ground rule double on a fly ball, scored a couple of runs, made plays on the field, all on a bad ankle because he wouldn't take himself out, because he was taught by his parents, if you've got a job to do, don't complain, don't let anything stop you, just get to work. And as it happened, he had thought he rolled his ankle, but it was a little bit worse, and he took a month. He rehabbed down in Florida to get healthy again. But everybody is raving about this guy, and not just his hitting prowess, but just his work ethic. And it's one of the reasons the Tiger Farm system is so highly rated. And that spells good news for the future. You got a guy like McGonigal leading the way, and, he's, I think he was ranked 23rd best prospect in all of baseball right now. and I suspect that'll grow as his prowess continues. But good for the Tigers for putting together a farm system. I love that notion. I grew up, as many of you know, in the Bronx, New York, watching the New York Yankees.